Welcome back to another episode of In Swine Versation. Farrow to Wean family farming in the Ozarks with Cambre Thrasher. Welcome to the program, Cambre.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate you having me.
You're the owner of Thrasher Family Farms. There's a bit of a story there. You and your wife bought the farm in 2016. You bought gilts and started breeding in 2017. And you sell wean pigs every 3 weeks through a niche company in Iowa. Can you tell me more about the backstory on this?
Yeah, so I grew up in Northeast Missouri. We had pigs. We had a few pigs whenever I was young, and my dad used to manage a larger hog operation, and I would tag along with him a lot. And I just really fell in love with raising pigs. It was something I always wanted to do. Had a few pigs through FFA growing up. And then whenever I went to college, I got the opportunity to work on the school's hog farm down there. And I knew I wanted to pursue a career in the swine business. And I ultimately wanted to have my own hog farm. So I worked about 6 years for a large integrator and got to learn a lot more about the swine business in a larger scale. I worked with contract growers doing that job, and then yeah, like you said, my wife and I had the opportunity to buy this farm, and we've been on our own raising pigs, and it's been about five years now since we started selling pigs. A little over 5 years.
So you started with 250 Farrow to wean, and now you're up to 350.
Yeah, we've grown a little bit. We've just tried to we've scaled the business some, just kind of to make larger groups of pigs available for sale. But now, we're kind of just focused on trying to make improvements and make things more efficient.
And how did your work with Cargill help set you up for success now?
Well, it certainly taught me a lot about just swine production on a larger scale. I mean, there's just so much that goes into it, so much on the health side that I didn't know before. A lot of things, just hitting targets and the importance of that, the importance of just managing the inefficiencies and keeping everything rolling, and just how important those details are. A lot of people, they think you just have a couple sows out here and how hard can it be? But there's really, when you start to have a little bit of volume, there's a lot of things that you've got to be focused on all the time in order to make it profitable.
And how does your niche company work?
So there's some different protocols that we have to follow. And we knew whenever we decided we wanted to get into the pig business, we knew that we wouldn't be able to compete with commodity pork. I mean, we knew we'd have to do something special, being down here in South Missouri, and also just being so small. So we looked at some different options, and we found one that would work. And we've got to provide bedding, turnaround farrowing. It's a longer lactation length, the 28-day minimum wean age, no antibiotics, just some things like that we've been able to work into our system and manage. And it's if it wasn't for that kind of stuff, we definitely wouldn't be able to be competitive or really be in business at all.
Do you see other opportunities for small family farms?
Yeah, I think there's certainly opportunity out there if people want to do it bad enough. I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a lifestyle. It's not a job. I think that's one thing people need to understand. Nobody just kind of wakes up and decides, I think I'm gonna go be a farmer. That it's something you've really got to want to live. It just encompasses so much. And but yeah, if you're willing to put in the effort and make that kind of investment, and then yeah, I think there's certainly opportunity. I think there's a growing number of people that really want to be kind of connected to their food source, and they want to know where the food comes from, and they want to know the people that produced it. And so yeah, I think there is a section of the population that will pay more for that. So yeah, if you're willing to do the homework, put in the effort, and can find the bank or whatever to help you get started, I think there's opportunity for sure.
So with consolidation, there's been a lot of focus with companies focusing on the bigger companies. That has an affected relationship with suppliers on your end?
No, there's still quite a few smaller independent producers, and we've got a really great relationship with our feed and ingredient folks, our all of our med vet supplies and things. We got a great veterinarian that we work with, and there's still a lot of folks trying to cater to the smaller producers. So that's been good.
So you are an old dairy farm, which you converted obviously to a hog farm. What was that process like to convert it over?
Yeah, it was a lot of work. We were able to utilize some of the old buildings. I mean, this farm and house and everything was built in early '60s, but it still had some life. We had to kind of clean up some things, had to pour some concrete in different areas and make it more suitable for raising pigs. So we kind of converted one old barn into our breeding barn. We put breeding crates in there. The actual milking parlor we kind of converted into a barn to put boars, and then we have the farrowing was mostly, we pretty well started all that from the ground up. We did majority of the material that we used was used. There was a couple different sow farms that had shut down, and I went there and gathered up several trailer loads of lumber and tin and farrowing pins and just different material that we could use. And had to call my brother and other help. Had some Amish neighbors that helped me. It was a lot of work, kind of getting things set up to where we could actually produce pigs. But yeah, it's been a lot of work, but it's been enjoyable. It's been rewarding.
And the automation was upgraded?
Yeah, that's something we've tried to focus on the last couple of years. So when we first started, everything was just feed buckets, we'd fill up 150 feed buckets a day, just packing them all over the place. We go feed farrowing, go feed the breeding barn, go feed the gestation. It was just lots of labor. And thankfully we've been fortunate. We've been able to put in some feed lines and some feed motors and automate some things. And yeah, again, used material, things we've got out of used farms, but it's been a tremendous blessing. It saved a lot on labor and time, and a lot of it's been better for the sows and the pigs also. But yeah, it's gotten a lot better. We still have some things we want to do, but it's certainly improved a lot.
So you told me you're living the dream, and that includes 4 kids, enjoying life in the Ozarks. So like what is living the dream to you?
Well, Jim, I consider myself extremely blessed. I'm so grateful. I mean, I've wanted to be a pig farmer since I was 5 years old. I've just, some kids want to go to play in the NFL or play professional baseball, and I've always wanted to be a pig farmer. And I've just, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of thought that went into it, but it's certainly been hard, been a very steep learning curve. But I'm so grateful that I get to do what I do every day, and I'm very thankful, very blessed by my wife and 4 wonderful children. And my wife stays home and takes care of our kids. And I mean, I have a lot of friends that they're up and gone and going to work and coming home, and they're tired and they just have so much to juggle. And I'm just really blessed and fortunate that I just go out and take care of pigs all day. It's really what I've always wanted to do.
Was there something specific in relation to being a pig farmer that intrigued you?
Well, I've always had a passion for agriculture, and I've always loved working. Honestly, I really like working, and even whenever I worked for Cargill, my favorite thing was actually doing the work. It was when I got to get out there and train new guys and just get in there and actually get dirty and do the work. I mean, I've always just loved that, and so getting to do that every day, it's rewarding. You're tired at the end of the day, but I feel like you have a sense of accomplishment, like you really did something, and I'm very thankful for that. And yeah, the lifestyle, just kind of that, being able to work outside. I mean, sometimes the weather's not the most favorable, but it's certainly a blessing overall to get to do that every day.
Now, this is not a family farm. You started it from scratch. Do you want the kids? Would that be a good vision for the kids to kind of take this and create a multi-generational farm? Or
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I guess that'd certainly be my dream, is that at least one of the kids would want to kind of take my spot someday, but they may not, and that's okay. But yeah, I hope that, certainly we want to be in be in a situation where we could offer them that opportunity. So yeah, I think it'd be really neat to pass that on. So yeah, we'll just see what's in store.
And then pig farming in Missouri, what makes it different?
Well, it's especially different in South Missouri. There's very few pig farms down here. Yeah, it's not a pig dense area, which is a good thing. There's also part of that's because there isn't a tradition of raising pigs down here so much, and a big part of that is because there's not the plentiful grains like there are in central Iowa and in Illinois and Indiana. So having less grain down here, the biggest difference raising pigs in South Missouri is the cost. I mean, it's cost a lot more to get that grain down here, and there's a lot of poultry production in especially in Arkansas, and so there's a ton of demand for that grain, and then also just the trucking to get it down here. It gets expensive, but I mean, there's advantages. Like I said, it's not a pig dense area, so that's a good thing. But certainly it's not like, I mean, I don't have any hog farming friends that I can go down the road and talk to about issues that I'm having. I've got to call my friends in Iowa or other places where there's a little more pig production.
So hot topics, maybe provide a brief statement on each, the Prop 12 decision.
Yeah, so Prop 12, I mean, I have some concerns there. I mean, I guess if you kind of zoom out and look at the Prop 12 deal from kind of a bigger picture, I think the concerning thing is that, this proposition, it wasn't written by veterinarians or swine experts. It was written by and pushed by and funded by animal rights activists. And honestly, they really don't want animal agriculture to exist at all. Prop 12 really just had one main goal, and that was to lower pork consumption in California. And it's going to accomplish that because pork's going to be more expensive. People, they're going to just choose a different protein source. That's the unfortunate thing. I don't think it really depends on how you raise pigs. I mean, anything that lowers pork consumption, that'd be concerning. And as far as different ways of raising pigs, I've had the privilege of working in all types of systems, everything from 30 sows outside to a 5,000 sow fully crated farm. And honestly, Jim, the difference in the the pigs, whether or not they're happy or healthy or taken care of, it all comes down to the people. It's all about the people and the caretakers. That's really the difference there. So yeah, I mean, Prop 12, I have concerns about it. I think that in the short term, it could be good for smaller niche people like me. And I think that's what, I've had a lot of people tell me. They say, hey, this is a good thing for you. This is going to really boost your demand. And I always say, well, first of all, I mean, I'd rather people want to buy my pork because they want to support me. They want to support our family, not because their state says they have to, if they're going to eat pork at all. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is, realistically, yeah, we may see a little boost in demand, but you and I both know it's not going to take long for the larger company, more integrated hog producing businesses to figure out exactly what they've got to do to make a Prop 12 compliant pig. Nothing more, nothing less. They'll use their leverage to make that pig as cheap as possible. And we're going to be right back in the same situation. Our pork's going to be more or less a commodity there. We're not going to be able to compete with them. And so, we'll be kind of back to square one, I'd say, in a couple of years or so. So yeah, I mean, overall, it's certainly a concern. I mean, it's really going to be hardest probably on those smaller, like, maybe 500 to 1,500 sow, Farrow to finish type of, oftentimes multi-generational farms. They've been losing so much money here the last, several months. They're not in a position where they can invest and make these changes that are going to be necessary to sell into California. So, I mean, they're really in a tough spot. If their barns needed upgraded anyway, then I'd say, yeah, I'd advise anybody that's going to be making an investment in the pig business, go ahead, try to, utilize the new technology that we have, the electronic sow feeding, some of that stuff. Go ahead and build that space to be compliant with Prop 12, because that's kind of the direction things are going. But today, yeah, it's kind of bad. It's just kind of salt in the wound for those type of producers that are, they're not compliant and they're not huge, and it's going to make life pretty tough for them. But yeah, we'll see. The good thing is, hog farmers, we are very, I think that the industry, they're tough, and they overcome obstacles. It's not the first obstacle that farmers had to overcome, and I believe this will be no different. Thankfully, I mean, I'm really thankful there's the technology that there is today. The phasing out of gestation crates has been going on for, at least 15 years, if not longer. And I am so thankful we've got some of the tools that we have now to, it may be more work, it may be more to manage, but there's some ways that, the free access breeding stalls, the ESF I mentioned, there's ways that we can, kind of do this and get the consumers what they want.
Now, what about like demand for the product? Because I know what comes up is, how do we have a better tasting product? So should the emphasis be on the consumer with how do we deliver a better tasting product?
Yeah, I think that there's some really good tasting pork out there, and I think that certainly there's a balance. So this may be a more pleasant eating experience, but it may have cost a little more to raise that pig. It may be a little bit less efficient, but if you can get consumers to go for that better tasting product, I think that's probably what we should focus on, because there is opportunity there. There's always going to be a segment of the population that, when they go to the grocery store, they want the cheapest pork that's there. That's all they want. They want what they can afford. They want it doesn't matter. Like, they're not really concerned about anything else, just lowest cost. So there's always going to be that. But I do think a lot of people, they want something that tastes good. And certainly if we can continue to fine tune genetics and make them more efficient and improve the taste of our pork products, I think there's opportunity there for sure.
Now, what about 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages of being an independent producer?
Yeah, that's a good question. So advantages, there's certainly more freedom. Being an independent producer, there's more things that we can kind of play around with. If we want to try some different genetics, or just some different feed, maybe some different vitamin mineral packs, different feed suppliers. You can kind of do some things and see how it works, and so that's enjoyable. I like the pigs being my own. I get people calling me and stopping by here all the time. They want to buy a couple feeder pigs for their grandkids, or maybe they want a cull sow to grind up into bratwurst and summer. It's neat being able to kind of provide that for them, and not being like, well, they're not really my pigs, I can't really do that. So I like that. I really like the independent side for that reason. As far as disadvantages, well, biggest one is just the capital. It costs that feed is expensive, and that's the biggest thing, probably, just buying all of your inputs. It's a lot more to manage. It's a lot more it can be more pressure if you let it be. But you get more freedom in decisions, but if you make a bad decision, there's really nobody to blame but yourself. So that's just kind of comes with it. But overall, I think it's rewarding. I enjoy it.
So when it comes down to making decisions for on-farm products, how do you make that decision? Is it from going to trade shows, internet research, relationships, science, marketing? What is it for you, Cambre?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably all of the above a little bit. I rely on some of my past coworkers. I've been able to work with some really, really smart vets and smart production managers, and I lean on them a lot. I kind of find out what's working in the big pig business, and if it's working for them, then maybe I can implement it here. And then I love going to trade shows. I love kind of seeing what new products are out there and what people are trying, what they're having success with. So yeah, I kind of lean on all of that stuff.
Is there an influencer, role model, or something that has helped define who you are and where you're going in the swine business?
Sure. Well, very blessed to have great parents. I had a wonderful home life and certainly taught the value of hard work. I have a wonderful wife and 4 beautiful children that I'm very thankful for, and they all definitely have had a lot of influence on me. I've been able to work with some really, really great people in this industry, and I'm so thankful for them. They've been mentors at different times and helped me understand different problems and situations. First and foremost, I try to follow Christ. I try to live my life as Jesus lived, honestly, and just try to be a good neighbor. I try to be a good steward with all these blessings that I have, and just try to be kind and loving and get along with folks. And yeah, we've just been really fortunate that, it's worked well for us so far.
So final thought, Cambre, is there something you want our industry to know or think about?
I think probably the biggest thing I try to communicate, and I've touched on this a little bit, but I think that people need to understand that there is room for all types of farmers and farming practices at the table. I mean, I really don't like the food fights. I don't like, you need to, and I never do this, but people say you need to buy my products because, oh, that other stuff, it's so pumped full of chemicals. You don't know what you're buying and all. I mean, a lot of that's baloney. I mean, majority, probably 98% or something of farms in the U.S., they're family farms. They're just people trying to support their families. And I guess I want people to know that, hey, it's great to support your small local growers. But at the end of the day, your products can sell themselves without you running down other people and stuff. So I guess I would just encourage everybody to kind of, get along. We all have the same goal. We all want to, provide for our loved ones and provide consumers with something that they want and need. And I think if we can all kind of work towards that, it can be good for all of us.
Cambre Thrasher, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Jim. I really appreciate it.